Welcome to Food Talk, where we talk about all things East End as per food, fishing, farming, you name it. And I've got two really special guests today. Colin Ambrose, the founder and owner of Estia's Little Kitchen, also Estia's Back Porch in Darien, Connecticut, and Laura Donnelly, who is the food woman supreme out here. She's, you may know her as a pastry chef. You certainly know her as the critic for the East Hampton Star. You've also cooked for Alec Baldwin. Let's talk about Baldwin, because we all know that we have something in common with him, mainly you two guys, but you used to be Alec's private chef.
I was, and Colin's the one who got me the job, actually.
And also, you used to work for Colin many, many, many years ago when Colin first opened Estia. 20
years ago, I believe. I hadn't even moved here to the East End to live year-round yet. And I was...
25 years.
Was it 25 years? I thought my son was 8 years old.
1992.
Yep.
You're right.
1992.
Oh, my God.
She walked into the kitchen with an interest in learning more about the goings-on of a kitchen. She had a fundamental idea of pastry, but she wanted to dive into the savory side, and we put her right in the middle of the line, and we had a lot of fun.
Well, Colin, you have a great story, and your story actually coincides with mine. You were one of our first clients that were at Hampton, maybe like the second client.
Yeah.
Which I'll never forget that, and I'm honored and just delighted that we helped you do whatever we did. And but you also have always been a forward thinker, and we talk about farm to table. You, along with the guys at Nick and Tony's, were the first guys to actually have a garden and grow things and serve it in the restaurant. We're talking mid-90s.
92,
yeah.
I met Scott Chasky. John Alexander introduced me to Scott Chasky. John had a friend who is his landlord, and there was 2 acres of land behind John's studio, and he made the introduction, and Scott came and cut the garden in with me, and as time went by, I brought in a couple of other guys, Jerry Hayden, Charlie Palmer, Dennis McNeil, Rick Moonen, and they became the Basil Brothers with me. And we had a 2-acre garden that was producing enough for me to send food into the restaurants in Manhattan on a weekly basis. D'Artagnan would come with an empty truck after they finished delivering in Montauk, and they would take the product into the city. And it was, that lasted for 4 years. And then the little kitchen came along, and their interest waned because I was sending dirty vegetables into those kitchens, and that just, you know, as much as they were pulled out of the ground that day and delivered organic, all those pieces were in place, those cooks were used to getting stuff in jewelry boxes.
Right,
and it was cool because it was my turn to then focus on both of my restaurants and take that garden to its highest and best use for my family and my business.
Tell them about the 2-hour salad.
Oh, the 2-hour salad is, it just had to, you know, it really kind of came out of my mother's 24-hour salad, which was completely the opposite. My mother's 24-hour salad was made with,
thank you,
with mushrooms and mayonnaise, but, and canned fruit cocktail and apples and such, and grapes. But I always loved the name, you see. And so when we realized that, I worked for a guy for a short time in LA named Fred Eric, and Fred is a master at creating unexpected dishes for his customers and giving them fun names. And having had a good, 6 weeks in his kitchen in LA, I came back and I thought, I got to start giving names to things that aren't so predictable. And that's where the 2-hour salad came from. Harvested 2 hours before service, and as a rule, we would sell out every night. And what I brought today is a pretty good example of a 2-hour salad. I harvested
really
all the
good.
Greens and the carrots, an hour ago, and stopped off at the farm stand on Scuttle Hall Road and picked up a watermelon and some Godale feta cheese. So this is locally produced feta cheese. The garlic comes from my garden. So, you know, I think I continue to carry that on. Yeah, and it's fun. Yeah, you know.
What's Baldwin's favorite dish?
He's focused on vegetables as a rule. There was a time where he was joking with me, and he said to me, this was back in the early 90s, he said, name a dish after me. Colin, I want you to name a dish. And he said, I'll give you $10,000 if you name a dish after me. And I said, well, that's pretty easy. So let's call it Big Al's Burrito. And
that's right.
He liked it with the veggie burger and whatnot. And, you know, I got to say that no money ever changed hands, but I have gotten so much promotional juice out of that dish. And it became Alan Alda's favorite dish. So being Big Al's Burrito just really carried forward. And Alan Alda has brought so many. Alec Baldwin has brought fabulous people to my restaurants. He has always been very genuine. He comes in. He doesn't sit until he's had a chance to work the room and say hello to people, so that when he does sit down, he has a chance of accomplishing his goal. He was in for lunch yesterday. Alan Alda at the Little Kitchen has done so many things for me. He brought Peter Jennings in. He brought Anne Bancroft and Mel Brooks in. And then Anne Bancroft and Mel Brooks were regulars for as long as Anne was alive after that. So probably 1999 to 2010 or so. I can't remember exactly when we lost her. But they would come in on a regular, and he would come into the kitchen and he'd say, boys, where's Mrs. B's cutting board? Because she was allergic to allium. All things allium. Garlic, leeks, onions, chives. And he wanted to make sure that there was a fresh, clean cutting board with a fresh, clean knife ready to prepare her meal. And I'd always say to the guys, you know, guys, you really have to watch Blazing Saddles, because they had no idea who this guy was. And he was such a nice man. He was just wonderful. Yeah. So that dish has opened a lot of doors.
And tell us about one little story when you were Alec's private chef.
Ooh, well, one of them involves a curse word, so I can't tell that story.
We don't curse.
I have to say, agreeing with you guys, he was one of the nicest, most fun, funniest, handsomest people I have ever worked for in my life, besides Colin Ambrose. Colin was the one who got me the job. He had to lose weight for a movie. He only had to lose 20 pounds in 6 months, and he's a vegetarian, but he liked his carbs. So, and I would just deliver the food to his house in the morning, lunch and dinner. I didn't have to cook it at the house. He was still with Kim Basinger at the time, who was a lovely person, and I think Ireland was about 8 years old. He loved my citrus dressing, which may have been based on one of Colin's dressing, I'm not sure. And that's it. He was just really fun and funny. It was a challenge, though, to cook for a vegetarian and make it different every day.
But speaking of dressings, you have a little surprise for Colin, literally up your sleeve.
I do. Colin, I know I've told you that I have an original copy of this. This is from when I worked for you. Going up my sleeve. These are your salad dressings.
Oh, my.
From the old Estia in your handwriting. Caesar, sesame vinaigrette, scribbles from me, and here you go.
Wow.
I'm returning the original copy to you.
Thank
I
you.
had to make a Xerox here, though, so I could keep one.
Well, that's great.
These are some of the best salad dressings. And you probably still make some of them.
We do. Well, the citrus vinaigrette for sure. The balsamic vinaigrette, we use a little bit of soy in that balsamic vinaigrette, which makes it different. I learned that from Nancy Dunlap, who at one time was a tremendous caterer in California, and then became John Corzine's private counsel, and she lives in Sagaponack. Great cook, great entertainer, and that vinaigrette has become a baseline for so many different things. It's been great. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. And there's a raspberry vinaigrette, which is so 80s. Right?
Oh yeah. Well, it was 92, so we were just hanging on. And I think the Caesar is eggless, if I remember correctly.
I don't know. You'd have to check.
I'll check that.
Sure. I think it is. I think you're right.
And then one last memento. So this is a picture of Colin in his garden, and that little young man next to him is my little boy, Ned.
Who now is much taller than me.
Oh, yeah, he's 22 and strapping lad, and he was probably 3 or 4 in that picture.
I love that picture.
So what you have there is the Basil Brothers garden in July, maybe early August. Corn, beets here. The garlic still hasn't been harvested, so it would have been early July. And this is John Alexander's studio. So that gives you an idea of how close we were to the guy who kind of opened a lot of doors for me.
So this is in back of the original restaurant in Amagansett.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And it was about 2 acres in its heyday.
And you
I
were
ran
one of
that
the
for
first.
12 years.
You were one of the first to be picking at Quail Hill for your restaurant.
That's yes,
'Cause
I was. Scott.
I used to go pick for Colin sometimes, and I remember thinking to myself, I'd go early in the morning, pick those multicolored raspberries, bring them back, throw it on your homemade granola with yogurt. And I'd be looking at people just lined up on the counter. I was like, do they realize that those berries were just picked and not from the supermarket? Pretty amazing.
Thank you.
Colin, how do you handle 2 restaurants in two? You know, they're 120 miles away. So tell us a little bit about Estia's back porch in Darien.
Well, I can start by answering your first question, was how do I do it? I do it only out of confidence in the staff that I have.
Right.
I think that, and any restaurateur worth his salt that doesn't think like I do shouldn't be in the business, but I think I have the best staff in the area. The majority of the people that work with me have been in my house for 8 or 10 years. I have one man that's worked for me for 24 years. The gentleman that runs the restaurant in Darien stands next to Ruben Bravo, who's been with me for 22 years, and his name is Augustino Flores, and he's been with me for 14 years.
That's great.
And so that helps a lot. These people are, they see the opportunity in having a real continuous relationship. I don't know if they're looking for other jobs, talking to other people, but I believe in my heart that they're happy with me, but they're also happy with the people that come in. They're happy with Alec. They're happy with Bill Oakey from Oakey Plumbing, who has his standing table on Sunday mornings every week. We have a guy named David who comes in for dinner 3 nights a week. And I believe that my staff is part of his nuclear family.
Well,
you know, this is a 75-year-old man who looks forward to his time with Julia and Irving and Caesar and Pamela.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And they come in and they make sure that he's taken care of. And he doesn't ask for a lot of special stuff. They know how to handle the people that do ask for special stuff. But they also really rejoice in the people that return. Dean and Todd Silvera, for instance. These are guys that come from Southampton almost every day for lunch. And, you know, they don't really have to do much more than pull into the driveway, and the team knows what to put on their table. They receive them with great joy. And then when it's time to turn the table, they're not sitting there saying, you know, I come here all the time. If they need the table, it's fine. But what's really nice about our community is that there's a real give and take. Everybody realizes that it's, and for the people that are regulars in restaurants, especially on the East End of Long Island, stepping out of the way during the summer is a wonderful indicator to the owner that you respect what we're trying to do, because we can't be open all year round and not be able to change gears and be malleable as the occasion requires.
Laura, you have been on the Ina Garten's Barefoot Contessa show. You're the reviewer for the East Hampton Star. You oftentimes did these things while you had a full-time pastry chef gig.
Yes.
You really are the empress of right? The empress.
Goddess,
Goddess.
Empress. I'll take
Yeah,
any
yeah.
of those. Thank you.
And so, what's your passion? What is it? Just food? Is that just what it is? Is just creating the people? Tell me what.
Both.
Yeah.
The food. I mean, and Colin, both of you understand this, especially with pastry. I find that it's a combination of art and science. It's also something that makes people happy. And food is community. And it's something we all have to deal with every day, but people who get pleasure out of it and really understand it, I don't know, I feel like I'm just going on and on. I get very excited over food, but yeah, I love food. I love cooking. I love the fact that I'm out here and have access to all these great restaurants and farms. I mean, when I leave here, I'm going to pick over at Quail Hill because it's Tuesday.
And then you're going to go to Lazy Point and you're going to go in the water?
Yes, I am.
I've already been on the water today. I had a little swim up at...
You go to Little Albert's Landing, right?
No, I go to Maidstone Beach.
Oh, that's
I go
right.
down to,
I've seen your
Right
pictures.
by the jetty. Nice little swim this morning. You going to get in the water today?
It's part of my plan.
Good.
His one and only day off.
Well, that's what we do out here. We work hard and take a break and then get right back at it. So we're gonna change it up a little bit, and we're gonna demystify some food terms. It's one of the things that we do. We're gonna use the Food Lover's Companion, and this is a book we use in the office so we get things spelled right and we capitalize the right words. So you're gonna know the answer to this. So probably you will too, Colin. But there's a word called clafouti. You know what it is. I know you do.
Clafouti.
Clafouti.
Greek?
It is
French. I think it's French.
It is French.
Okay.
Any idea what it means? Stop. Put your hand down.
I'm gonna let Laura take this.
Well, it's a pastry thing.
Yes, very eggy though.
Tell
Very eggy.
us.
It's almost like a Dutch baby pancake. You know those puffy Dutch baby pancakes? You put a little bit of butter in a pan, you mix some eggs and flour and flavoring. Like I make a pear clafouti that's really good. Cherry is another classic one. It's just a great example of French cooking with cheap ingredients and what's in season. That's really what it is. And then you top it with fruit and bake it in a hot oven, and it's delicious. So it's not really cakey, it's more eggy. Or pancakey.
Here's what the food lovers say.
Okay, I'm probably all wrong.
No. Originally from the Limousin region, probably the origin of the limousine, this country French dessert is made by topping a layer of fruit with batter. After baking, it's served hot, sometimes with cream. Some clafouti have a cake-like topping, while others are more like a pudding. Though cherries are traditional, any such fruit as plums, peaches, or pears can be used. I say you get 3 stars.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
That means I get a bite of Colin's salad.
Speaking of Colin salad, Colin, why don't you and I switch positions?
Okay.
And let's talk about this. Now it's a 2-hour salad. When you got here, it was a 1-hour salad. So let's tee it up, my friend.
I like to do this. This is a salad that originated at the Old Stove Pub for me. I had a 2-year run at the Old Stove Pub. It was a lot of fun.
Is that open right now?
I think it is. I think
it
it is. It's got it's hardcore Greek origin, and they're doing a good job with the steaks there. I certainly enjoyed my time there. But my job was to maintain that menu as close to its origin as possible because the health department wanted it that way. Because it had a very tiny dishwashing station and they didn't want us to add more dishes.
Oh.
They didn't want us to add sauté. So I looked at what was in the house, and the Greek salad was great, which we were doing, but I wanted to play on that. So I just brought watermelon in. And what we have here is feta cheese, watermelon, onions, and then I added a little carrot and a garlic vinaigrette, which I'll make really quickly. So all I'm doing is trying to make this salad a little bit more fun to present. And I'm going to take all of the trim that I have left over, and I'm going to add it to the salad so that we're not throwing anything away. So what we have here is a nice little pyramid that is going to be kind of good looking standing next to the salad. It's a focal point. It's something to look at. And again, I'm taking all the trim.
A food pyramid.
Yes, exactly. It's a fun food pyramid, colorful, delicious. The sugar in the watermelon plays very nicely off of the feta cheese and the greens in the salad. So I'm going to make 3 little setups here, and then we can talk about the dressing. Okay. So what we have for the dressing is kind of fun too. I have about 3 tablespoons of olive oil that I'm going to add. I've got a little bit of raw garlic, came out of the garden and has been drying at the house in the eaves behind the restaurant. A little bit of salt, and then I'm going to take some of our homemade vinegar. And we make this vinegar because last year I took on a lot of the Wolfer apple cider spritzer or whatever it is in the little bottles. That's
The
kind of
hard
that
cider?
Party
Yeah.
hard cider. And it didn't sell for us. I mean, we did okay with it, but I had 3 cases left. So what we did was, I didn't really want to be selling last year's hard cider this year. So we took them all and we emptied them into large clear wine bottles and put them out in the sun for about 3 weeks. And we have a beautiful, very light apple-flavored vinegar,
Wow.
which I think goes very nicely with this.
Can I ask a question? What kind of olive oil do you like to
I'm
use?
using extra virgin olive oil,
Right.
Monini is what I
yep.
use. And I only use it for dressings. I don't use it to cook with.
No.
I use regular olive oil that's blended with vegetable oil
Right.
for cooking, for saute and such. And if you want to set all 3 of these up, Steve, I'm going to
Sure.
put a little salad on each one. And
Beautiful.
you can see the color from this thing. We've got these very nice rainbow carrots. We've got a little baby romaine, and we got some arugula. And then I also like to add herbs to my salads. So we have a little bit of parsley in there. And then we're going to take each one of these and set it right on the side. And if you're entertaining, this makes for a salad that looks like you did just a little effort, a little more time. And you can finish it with vinaigrette if you had it, but I think what we've got here is
Show
just
it right over the cutting board so our cameras can see the lovely little watermelon sandwich. Yeah, hold it up, Colin. Good.
Pyramid. Watermelon pyramid.
Watermelon pyramid,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful.
So feta cheese comes from Good Ale Farms in Riverhead in this case. But sometimes I also go to Michael Cavanola. He has a really nice product there that's a sheep's milk whey. And it's a little thicker and a little more dense than feta
Thank you.
cheese. And it works out really well too. And I do love visiting Michael because his cheese shop is
Isn't it
just
great?
sexy. And,
It is. It's
you
so
know,
great.
There's nothing like it around. He always has the best bread. So if you go in there and you need a little cheese, don't miss the bread.
Oh, well, what about the fact that they have all those huge pieces of cheese out for tasting?
Right.
You can
yeah.
just go
Oh,
there
yeah.
and stand there with them for
You can
half
learn
an hour.
a lot about cheese from
Yes.
Michael Cavanaugh.
Yeah, no, he's amazing. I haven't been to his new place in Amagansett, but I live a couple blocks from his store in Sag Harbor. Yeah.
And in Amagansett, they have a lot of sandwiches that they sell. So it's become very popular for folks to go there and eat the sandwiches in the yard.
This is delicious.
Oh, I'm glad you like it.
Really
try
good.
it.
Little crunch from the carrot and
Speaking
the
of carrots, isn't Scott Chasky going to start planting another round of carrots in your garden next week because it's the beginning of August?
It's time.
Yeah.
It's time. I mean, I have a set that just went in
Okay.
of carrots and beets, and I'll put another one in about 2 weeks once again.
What do you got? What's growing there right now? I know you got a lot of
Oaxacan
stuff.
green corn. That's a new one. That's a corn that's like a
Green
field
corn?
corn. Yeah, it's going to be a green corn, a field corn, and it's going to. We'll use it in the winter time. We'll make cornmeal with it and use it with our fish dishes. So that's what I look forward to. I also have a beautiful butternut squash that is. It's been brought together under Dan Barber's eye. He's working with some seed specialists in the Hudson Valley, and they sent me a packet of his butternut squash, and it's just now forming the fruit. The flowers are coming in strong, so I'm very excited about that. We have red curry squash growing. We have a lot of greens. It's just dying out now, but we'll reseed in about a month for our fall harvest of greens. We have a Three Sisters garden right now. We have, that's primarily field corn.
Named after your daughters, I assume?
Well, the
Three
Three
Sisters?
Sisters, the idea comes from the Indians, really. And they work together to not only reset the garden with nitrogen from the beans, the runner beans grow up the corn, so you seed the runner beans about 3 weeks after the corn starts coming in. So the corn has got to jump on the beans, the stalk is in place, and then those beans have something to grow on and provide support to. And then in the middle of the garden, you grow squash. And the squash covers, and so you don't have to weed that garden once the squash really takes over. And so you're getting production from 3 different plants all in the same bed. And it's really quite beautiful.
Folks, this guy knows more about gardening than as much as he does about cooking as he does about gardening. It's pretty impressive, Colin. Very, very
Thank you. And
impressed, very proud of you. Now,
You could start shooting this show in remote locations. Am I going to drive all your producers crazy?
We spoke about that. But now here's the thing. We've only got a few minutes left. Quick question, one answer. You can give a couple. Your favorite thing about living on the East End?
The light, the water.
Great answer. Colin?
soil. It's the best soil in the world. They call it Bridgehampton loam. And I love the light and the water, too. And my friends are here.
I'll go with light.
Oh, I should have said that.
Yeah, I'll go with light and water and the community. It's a good community, good people, folks like yourselves. Now, my favorite question. You may not have studied for this, so you can think.
I didn't study for anything.
Well, you didn't read, but we're going to forgive you because you're awesome.
Oh, that's right. I didn't read the whole thing, but neither did he. He's wearing a checkered shirt.
Well, we forgive you because of that.
I read, but I didn't.
Okay, thank you.
So, your 5 people you'd invite to dinner.
It would have to be the first guys that came to my restaurant.
Oh, cool.
You know, so it would be Donovan Fitzpatrick, who was a editor for the New York Times, tremendous guy, looked me in the eye the first day that I met him, and he said, "My friend, we're going to get to know each other very well, but you're not going to make any money off of me." And he had a cup of tea and an English muffin for breakfast every day.
Oh, my God.
I'd like to have
That's all you have to serve him then at the
Peter
dinner.
Stone. He was a great customer of mine and a wonderful guy to chat with. And he often would bring Lauren Bacall in for dinner.
Right.
And I think that she was marvelous, and she always had nice comments to make, and was very supportive, and she always had the same thing. She had a BLT every time she came. And I think
One of the
G.E.
best
Smith,
restaurants out here, and they're eating English muffins and BLTs. I'm sorry.
Well, it's okay. Anything that makes the world turn, right? So G.E. was also early at the counter and a great supporter, and John Alexander. And you know, I think I'd love to have Alec, but no one would get a word in edgewise.
Yeah,
Yes, that's true.
He
also
he's got good things to say.
I'll tell you one thing about Alec Baldwin. Never play Scrabble with Alec Baldwin because you have no chance of winning. The guy doesn't even try a word unless it's got 9 letters in it.
Oh, my God. I wouldn't dream of it.
That's all we have time for. I just want to say, cógelo suave, pero cógelo. Take it easy, but take it. And I'm so glad you guys came. This is just awesome. What a great show. And you got off the hook. You didn't have to give your 5. Who are your 5 people?
Well, I'd start with MFK Fisher,
Oh.
if I can choose some dead people.
Right.
Because she's one of my favorite food writers.
Right. That was the
And I don't remember getting a memo saying I needed to be prepared with 5 people.
Cheryl
I probably
Sayre
would.
said the same
I think I'd have my parents because they're no longer with us, and that inspired some of my cooking. Okay, that's 3. 2 more. Maybe I'll invite Alec Baldwin too, just because he's so funny and has dreamy blue eyes.
Oh, okay. So you got Baldwin.
And Steve Haweeli and Colin Ambrose. Oops, that's 6.
This had 6.
It'll be a good dinner party.